Namaste, everyone. I'm going to give you Kundalini Yoga for overcoming your fears so that you can build up your core strength, so that you can go out there into the world with more personal power, dedication, resilience, and soulfulness, right? So, fear. Let's look at a fear. Could be a single fear that we have. How I work with my fear. Usually they're initially we don't recognize the fear. Sometimes the fear has to come up consistently for us to really grab it by the balls and like look at the thing, right? So for me, when I have a fear that comes up consistently, right, it could even be in years where we'll kind of pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out type of thing. But as I start to really go through the emotions or go through the mental space of that, I start to grab it, right? I grab that fear. I'm like, no, right? You're not going away from me right now. I'm going to grab you, right? And usually it's not necessarily intellectualizing what that fear is and where it comes from, because we could do past life regression, we could do, self-hypnosis and really look at the fear. It's have many therapy sessions on the fear, right? We could spend years on therapy session on the fear. It's more so I'm not interested in analyzing it. I'm not interested in like taking it apart and putting in a bunch of pieces and trying to find the root of it and trying to find the exact where it originates, right? Because again, we could spend years on therapy to really find where it originates, but we're so infinite. Like we have lifetimes. We have so many lifetimes that kind of it can originate from. Who knows, right? I'm more interested in creating a thought, kind of putting it in there, almost like you're putting in this thought into that vibratory field that fear has dominated, right? The fear has some sort of, it has dominated some sort of vibrational field within your space, right? It has kind of taken control, right, of this vibrational field within the overall vibrational field of you, right? Kind of like it's dominating this territory within your mind or your energy, right? I am more interested in creating a thought form as a response to it, right? A response. So for us as yogic practitioners, we can use mantra, a single mantra, right? It could be Waheguru, Waheguru, in the way you respond to it, right? But it's a repetition, right? You could also even create your own personal mantra, right? Your own personal thought. But this is something that you want to anchor into that sort of field, whatever that fear is in that vibrational field of you that's having an impact on you, meaning it's influencing you. It's influencing your decisions, right? So what I like to do is create a thought. So if I have a fear of, let's say there's a fear of love, right? I have a fear of love, right? That, again, you could spend all day in therapy about my fear of love, right? I fear love because maybe I'm not good enough, or because my childhood and my father. I fear love because I'll be rejected. You could go all day long about what it is, right? And you, it will, when you put that thought form in response to it, my fear of love, what I like to do is a response to it, kind of as to kind of challenge it, right? You challenge it, right? Whatever that is that's challenging you, you challenge it, right? Because that fear is challenging you. There's some part of you that's elevating, or you're manifesting something, and that fear comes up because you're manifesting something. Either you're aware of it or not, you're manifesting something. And if, let's say, the fear of love, it's because you're manifesting love, right? And that's coming up as a challenge, right? It's a challenge, right? And that challenge is there. You could see it as a test on your newfound freedom, right? Test. It's a challenge on your newfound freedom. So in kind of that recognition that I'm manifesting something, and that's why this fear that may be coming up for years is coming up, maybe it's coming up even more, because you're getting stronger in your manifestation of it, right? And manifestation is not just light and love, visualization of the sweetheart as this example, right? It also is about you having to face these challenges and these tests, right? Because we're on a polarity planet, and we, light and love, just the kind of fantasy of love, there's more to that, right? There's a lot more to that. We talk about the personal power, right? The stamina, the vitality, right? And that really is all built up through you challenging yourself. And that could be subtly, that could be more intensely, it could be an emotional body, in the mental body, the sexual body, the physical body, right? Because a part of this earth is about we are faced with obstacles, and that's what builds up our character, and that's what builds up our self-esteem, just like a warrior, right? So when that fear of love, again, I could spend therapy and talk about it all day long, and try to, where does it originate? Is it this lifetime? Is it another lifetime? I don't know. I just put in a thought form, one that I really can wrap my head around, one that feels believable, one that feels very tried and true for me, and you'll find that. And I feel like put more energy on that than just hanging on to the whole, the fear and where is it and where does it come from, and it's my dad and it's the childhood, and just going really, really heavy in this almost nostalgic, almost like deeply like sympathy, like I have sympathy for myself, right? Because that makes you emotions very, very like very, very heavy, right? So what I like to do is I create this thought form in response. So the fear of love, my response again is something that's believable, and you'll find it has to be believable. It has to be something that's tried and true. It has to be something that you're working on, and it meaning that you're sort of building in your life. You're building yourself. You're building yourself up in that particular area. So I say the fear of love, and my response is whatever that comes up that really can take me on a ride. I like to say my response can I have beautiful creativity that is worthy of a high caliber partner, and that could be my response, and it's believable because I work so fiercely on creativity within my life. So that response is like, you can't challenge that. The fear can't challenge it because it's something that you are doing consistently. It's something that you are dedicated to. It's your craftsmanship, right? And whatever has craftsmanship has grit, it has merit, right? So that's what I like to, for example, the fear of love, the simple response to really kind of hold it in its place, like, right, is I am very creatively beautiful that is worthy of a high caliber mate. And just, you'll find your mantra, you'll find that response to it, and it will feel very expansive for you. When you respond, the mantra response you have, it will feel expansive to you. It won't feel like, oh, you're just like pulling it out of your ass and just making it up, and it doesn't feel believable to you, right? I am a very creatively beautiful woman that is worthy of a high caliber mate. And that fear of love, you've challenged it. It's challenging you in what you're asking for, what you're praying for. You may not even be consciously praying or asking for that particular subject of love, but unconsciously you are manifesting that because you are taking some sort of action, you're doing some sort of work, indirectly, directly, that is actually sort of magnetizing that to you. And that fear is coming up because it's basically challenging you, saying, are you ready for it? I see that's what fear is saying. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes? Do you have what it, yeah, that's kind of what it does. And in your response is, I am a creatively beautiful woman that is worthy of a high caliber mate. When you just say it very simple, very calmly, very nonchalant, very cool and collect, the fear basically like, okay, right? Be like, okay, right? Right? But when you don't believe it, meaning you don't have the hours of work or the meditation, or you didn't really build a sort of craftsmanship with what your response is, you'll be like doubt. You're like, your response will be doubtful. And then the fear will just keep coming back because it'd be like, well, I didn't believe you. I didn't believe you. You say you're ready? I didn't believe you. Because fear, you can't lie to it, right? You can't lie. It's so honest, right? When it says, are you ready? It's being honest with you. The fear of love. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Right? Because it's going to give you some sort of, it's going to demand of you to be a certain way, right? Or not to be a certain way. It's going to demand of you to be more of yourself. Right? And that's why when we respond to it, we need to have a backbone. We need to actually have, we're working in that direction, not just pulling it out of our ass when we're not even doing that. Right? Right? And all of us, we can find one thing that we're doing or working on or have a backbone with or standing our ground in that gives us this craftsmanship, that gives us a sense of merit. It gives us a sense of grit in our response. Right, to the fear, right? A grit, right, is the challenge. The grit is how you kind of beat the challenge, right? And how we build the grit is we have something, a quality, a trait, a gift, something we've been working on within ourselves that we may not even be aware of at this moment, but we will be aware of. That gives us this sort of grit, that gives us this sort of craftsmanship, this sort of worth. Right, whatever it is, there's this sort of compelling, commanding, claiming worth, right? And really, as human beings, since this is a planet of character development and self-esteem, in the fear of love or any subject, it's really building up your self-esteem around that area, right? So the fear of love, in the building up your self-esteem, would be about, again, seeing yours, like, for example, this is just my own mantra, seeing how creative I am just in the many hours, many years, many, just much of that, right? And then seeing that as my worth. And all of us have this worth about us. All of us have some sort of merit, some sort of grit, some sort of craftsmanship, something we do. It can be simple as like, we are just this great, we love to laugh, and that brings so much like peace to people's lives and just so much balance to people's lives, right? And that's a trait, that's a quality that we're good at, right? That gives us a sense of worth, the sense of claiming our worth, because we have it all the time. It's just a matter of fact of actually making it yours, claiming it, making it yours, right? Your try and true, right? Your sort of, when the universe says, are you ready? And the fear says, are you ready? And you're like, I don't know, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe it doesn't, maybe no. You're like, no, I claim my worth. I have this gift or this trait or this quality of me that makes me ready to excel. And that's really what fear is saying. Are you ready to excel? And as human beings, we prepare so much in our mind of, we want so much. I want to excel, I want to excel, I want to excel. Right? Whatever that is in whatever area of our life. But then we never really, right? We never really give that much of all that energy. I'm ready. I want it. Right? To actually looking at our worth. right? Our craftsmanship, our merit, our grit, the trait, the quality that is uniquely our own. And we spend years, months, years sort of developing within ourselves. And that thing, that trait, that quality could be many things. That talent, that skill, that gift of us that makes us multi-talented or multi-dimensional, and it really sort of invites in opportunity just naturally without us needing to do anything. When we start to really open that in response, we become believable to our fear. And then our fear, it kind of, right, it sort of subsides. Because we're being honest with that fear. Yes, I am ready. I am believable when I say I'm ready. Because I have claimed my worth and I have showed up. And this is how I've showed up. And I've showed up. Right? But when we fear the love is because we're not necessarily, the fear of love or whatever it is, we know that we're not necessarily showing up for that merit or that grit or that part of ourselves that gives us this sort of compelling, commanding and claiming worth, right? Because we're like, we're kind of not wholehearted in it, whatever that is for us, right? And for me, what makes me wholehearted in response to fears, I'm a creatively beautiful woman that you could say is just worthy of a high caliber partner, right? And saying that to the fear is also saying to yourself, I am willing to continue becoming what gives me excellence, right? I am willing on doing and becoming what gives me excellence. And that's very believable, right? Because fear, it wants to challenge you. It wants to ask you, like, are you ready? Right? And if you're not ready, you're going to be like, oh my God, no, yes, you're right. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Yes, no, yeah. Right? You're going to be like all caught in your head. But when you just get into the simplicity of what the fear is asking you, are you ready to excel? Right? And that could be, are you ready to excel? Meaning forgive your father. That's a fear that's coming up. That's coming, I'm ready, right? Or whatever it is to mend the situation, talk with your ex-partner or, move out of whatever place you're in, travel, whatever it is that you're manifesting and fears coming up. This, that, and the other. It's just saying, are you ready to excel in a new way, to be more of yourself? And what makes us believable in our response when we say yes is when we actually have this, when we've claimed our worth through building up this trait or this quality or this craftsmanship that could be so subtle, could be so simple, could just be a simple thought, it could be just simple routine, something we do daily and have, that gives us this core strength in us, right? And when we respond from that perspective of, for example, my sort of core strength is creativity, create. That is something that's been tried and true, something that when I respond to fear of love from that perspective, it can't challenge me because I've built that up within me so strongly, right? It's almost so ingrained in me that it gives me this sort of response to that fear of love or whatever it is, to, again, you'll find your own kind of mantra, or you'll find different ones into different fears that will come up, really. But just the one fear, and just see it, fear in general. It doesn't even have to be a fear of this, that, and the other, and then the other, and the other. It's just challenging your self-esteem. So then look at what is it about your self-esteem that's tried and true. That's all you have to do. Look at your self-esteem and see what is tried and true about your self-esteem in response to that fear. Look at your self-esteem and see what is tried and true, and you can apply that to almost every fear. And when you say, are you ready? You'd be like, yes, I'm ready to excel. I'm ready to be more of myself. I'm ready to claim more of myself, command more of myself to the forefront. Right? So that's what we're going to work on. So bring your hands together.